all of that stuff that we just talked about, people love to hear that.
Oh, you know exactly what we're up to.
Yeah. Oh, I love talking about my art.
So talk about Joel Astley.
Hey.
He has slid in here because he's on his way back up to Seattle, but from Seattle to Greaseland and all the way around.
Yeah. So I released an album last year called Seattle to Greaseland. And the reason I called it that is because these are all my original songs on that album. But when I went to Kid to record and produce, I knew that it was going to be under a very heavy creative hand. Kid does what he does. He is Greaseland, and Greaseland is amazing. So I put my songs in his capable hands, and I was a little bit scared. Like, what am I gonna do? You know, like when I let someone else into the process, and everything was fine. I actually stayed with a friend of mine who's here tonight, George Brandow. George and Carrie put me up for that few nights that I was recording. And we had these wonderful late night talks over a cup of tea about the process and how when you let a strong personality and a creative force like Kid Anderson into your world, there's a compromise. There's a meeting of the minds. You got to meet them halfway. So I named the album Seattle to Greaseland. That's where I came up with that.
Oh, that's beautiful. Now, I love Kid.
I do
too. He is a force to reckon with, but so is this guy. Man, you don't fit into any genre. Either you're a little rockabilly, a little blues, a little jazz. I mean, what has influenced you besides everything?
Yes. I love, as you can tell, I'm a creative,
Check out,
visual
you made
artist.
This jacket.
So
from a
I drew this
store.
design all over this secondhand suit, and it's kind of the meeting of my two arts. I was a creative. I was a visual artist before I was a musician. I've only been in bands for about 10 years, which in music time is a blip. I'm a baby. I'm playing with guys who, were playing when I was a baby, literally.
Well, tell us a little bit about that. So what is it that got you inspired to play music only 10 years ago when you were 10 years old?
So I turned 49 next month. And when I was in high school, I picked up harmonica because my best friends were picking up drum and bass. And if you know drummers and bass players, they were going like this. And they were getting that knit, that tight knit that a drummer and a bass player get. And I was afraid I was going to fall out of the friend group if I didn't pick up music. And I was a singer. I could sing, but I kind of felt like that wasn't an instrument. So, and harmonica always spoke to me. So I went and picked up a harmonica, and that was terrible for a very long time. I wasn't one of those guys who picked it up and wow, he's great right away. No, that was not me.
So you had to work at this.
I had to work and work and work.
And you wanted to be part of the friend group.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that kind of was my motivation to get into music, but it didn't stick. That in itself was not enough. Blues music called to me long before that. I listened to blues since I was a kid, and I love blues, and that's where my heart is. But I listen, like you said, my influences are jazz, and I grew up in the '90s, so I was listening to grunge. I was in Seattle, so that's the heartbeat, and that's what I grew up with was grunge and hip hop. That was my soundtrack.
Wow.
Was blues, hip hop, and grunge. And then I started to get into other stuff later, and rockabilly kind of became a pretty strong influence in my music, just in the recent past, maybe in the last 5-10 years.
Because it's super fun and kind of crazy.
It's fun.
Gets people on the dance floor.
Yes, it's fun. It's the very high energy. People dance to it, and it's just a very American music. Mm-hmm. It just feels like one of the important roots of American music. And I don't deliberately go after any kind of genre. I just am moved by certain music, and sometimes I'll write a song and go, oh wow, I just wrote a country song.
Really?
Or wow, this is a funk tune. And so I've got all these songs bouncing around in my head.
Floating around back here.
And it's, we're kind of locked into the bins. You know, the record bins, the old school, like when you think about a record store, what do you look at first? You look at the big word over the bins.
Yep.
I look for blues.
I was just at Amoeba
I look
Records
for
yesterday.
Country,
Yeah.
blues, soul, and they got to know where to put that record. When you walk in, they go, where do I put this?
And you don't want to
And
put
it's
anywhere.
unfortunately we're just stuck. You know, that's just how it is. But things really are changing. Even the concept of the album is kind of starting to just dissolve as singles take over, right?
True that.
There's like, oh, the song that person became famous for. Oh, and then they have other songs too. Did you know? And like they released them all together. We used to call that an album. And then there was something called a concept album, right? So just to kind of, I feel like I'm kind of going down a rabbit hole.
You're educating us.
Like,
Concept album.
It's funny to think that I could educate anybody about music because I really do feel like a baby. I feel like I'm making this up as I go, and
But he's having fun.
I'm having a blast.
So what is it about living in your passion that this is really going forward? You've got a record. It doesn't seem like you're stopping anytime soon.
No, I can't. The momentum is like it swept me up, and now it's like, okay, how can I do this? There's problems that are arising from the biggering of it, and it's like, what do I do? Well, so I look around and I look at the way other people do it, and I think about that's not what I want to do, or that is what I want to do, and I just take notes and I think about what's working and what's not working and what goes into certain plans. I have a friend who's just a wonderful musician. He's on the record, Johnny Bergen. And Johnny Bergen,
I know Johnny Bergen. Yep.
he's one of the hardest working
You know
touring musicians I've ever heard of. And he's easily the busiest person I know. And he flies and drives all over the world, and he plays, 300 plus shows a year. And he's just, it exhausts me to think about how he does it.
You never know how you affect somebody. That's cool.
Oh yeah,
That's inspiring.
Yeah. Super inspiring, but also like, okay, so he's the edge of the spectrum. There's this continuum, right? Like he's at the far end of touring musician, like here's the frame, right? Like all the way over here, and then on the other end, there's a studio musician who never leaves his apartment. He has the groceries delivered.
No, that's not for you.
That's not for me. So I'm somewhere in between.
Okay.
And I feel like I'm getting pulled towards performing, and like, what does that look like? And this album was like strapping a rocket to my back because I was not known, and now I'm known. Like
Flash Gordon.
Yeah, it was really kind of very, very fast.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's kind of like, like butterflies in my stomach sometimes.
Getting them all to go in the same direction.
Yeah, from like 10 miles an hour to 50 miles an hour. So I don't know.
Hold on,
What's
it's
gonna
a
go?
wild ride.
Yeah, it's a wild ride.
And
It's
you're
a
on it
totally
with
wild
such
ride.
great people.
Yeah.
Greaseland.
Yeah, Greaseland was recorded at Seattle to Greaseland was recorded with Johnny Bergen, Kid Anderson, June Core, Randy Bermudez, Jill Deneen, and Marina Kraus on backing vocals. Wonderful singers.
Yes.
And I felt like I was totally in great hands. And sure enough, the album was very well received in the blues community. I got great reviews from all over the world. And now I'm looking at like, how do I make this momentum work for me, which forces me to decide what I want to do. Where on that spectrum do I fall? Am I like Johnny Bergen, 300 a year, or am I like, okay, we're just gonna play the clubs in my neighborhood like once a month? And so I'm thinking, okay, it's got to be like closer to the Johnny Bergen edge of things. So it's like, okay, what do I do about my day job?
What's your day job?
I have a day job.
Oh my
and
gosh.
it's totally not related to music at all. And so I'm thinking, okay, and they all think it's interesting that I'm a musician. Like, oh cool, they come and see my shows sometimes. But I'm gonna probably have to take some time off very soon and figure it out.
Now you have kiddos, right?
I have 2 kids. One still nows. He's a musician. And one's grown and moved out. He's also a musician. And my wife.
Oh, you've rubbed off on them. Are they rubbed off on you?
I'm not sure. So, you know, as a parent and an artist parent always wonders, like, when this baby pops out, are they an artist? And or what do I do to, you know, help them, whatever. Like, I wasn't interested in creating an artist, right? They just, you know, whether you believe that it's nature or nurture, they're going to do what they're going to do. And I'm just there to support it, whatever it is. They want to be an engineer, they want to be a musician, whatever. Both of them are very, very creative, very talented, and they're their own people.
Proud dad here. I can hear that.
I don't have the album in my hands, but my 17-year-old, who was 16 at the time, did the album art.
Keep your eyes and ears out for that.
Barrett Astley is wonderful.
And you're going to be 49.
I'll be 49.
So life is just getting started for this guy.
I feel like maybe, yeah, in a way,
It can happen for you. It can happen for anybody.
Yeah.
When you follow your passion.
So one of my favorite painters.
Oh, one of your favorite painters.
One of my favorite painters is Kandinsky, right? He was a banker until he was in his 50s, and then he decided to be a painter. And he's in the museums. He's one of them. I mean, everybody knows Kandinsky's name if they're into abstract art, fine art. It's one of the big ones. So
I say go big.
Go big or
that
go
end of the spectrum.
So yeah, somebody in Seattle who's a wonderful drummer, and he said to me, "Dream as big as you can." Ben Smith told me that. Ben, thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Dream as big as you can.
Dream as big as you can. He played drums in a band called Heart, and he knows what he's talking about. And I feel like if I can dream as big as I can, then that's where the plan is going to land me.
Believe in the people that believe in you.
Yes.
That's what I say.
Oh, I feel very supportive. My wife is super supportive.
Yay,
my friends
wife.
are super supportive. We're in Santa Rosa right now.
Up in California.
I've never been here before, but I've been to the Bay Area, and I've been in Healdsburg, and made some friends and some fans last time I was in town, and they put the word out, and I couldn't believe how many people showed up tonight. It really warmed my heart, and it's just like you said, Thea. It's people supporting each other in this crazy world.
And boy, do we need that.
Yes.
How can we find you?
JoelAstley.com.
Facebook, Instagram?
Facebook,
Okay.
Instagram, yeah.
Awesome.
And I don't do a clever account names because it's hard to find people when they do that. So
But look for the little
Astley.
blue dot. That makes you real.
Yeah, right.
Facebook. Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
I'm not getting imitators yet. Yet.
Yet. Right?
Oh, I
People
did
say
have a
nasty things about you. That's
Yeah,
a good one
right.
too, though.
I had a very interesting nuisance this week. So during the pandemic, I made a harmonica t-shirt, and I started advertising it at harmonica groups in Facebook, and I sold hundreds of this art that I did. I put it on t-shirts, and I sold them, shipping them all over the world, selling them at my shows a little bit. It was amazing, and I sold out, and I just kind of stopped making them, and then I put them on my website, and so you can order them now. It's like a third-party printer, and this last week I got alerted to somebody pretending to have made it themselves. Somebody was trying to sell my design on shirts. I was flattered and infuriated, and I reported it, and the guy that runs the group, the Facebook group, was a friend of mine. And so I reached out to him, hey, dude, there's somebody's in the group. He's like, yeah, somebody already told me. Again, the community stepping up and watching out for each other. And this imposter, or villain, some unscrupulous whatever, we squashed it, gone. So,
All right.
but it was kind of kind of flattered.
Yeah, you kind of made it, you know? Sort of.
It's like, oh, I can't
It's a
wait for my
wild and
first
crazy
stalker.
world.
No.
No.
Please, no. Knocking on wood right now.
Okay.
Knocking on wood.
We got wood all over the place in here. Yep. Well, thank you. Okay, so
Thank
we
you so
can
much,
find him on
Thea.
JoelAstley.com.
JoelAstley.com. ASTLEY.
Thank you.
Yeah.
AST. Got to
LEY.
pronounce that. Okay. And any last words that you'd like to say to somebody going, I'm I'm gonna be 50. I want the rest of my life. Best day yet. What do you got to say?
Best day yet. So, I guess relating to music, I would say find local open stages, call them jams. I had a very good experience when I started going out to them. It was a very warm reception. It's very rare that somebody cops an attitude about a beginner.
They don't throw cans of
They don't
tomatoes.
throw cans
like
of
they do in
tomatoes.
the
They don't
country
food
western
you.
movies. Okay.
They don't bottles.
Costs too much money.
Yeah, right. Yeah, nobody's rotting vegetables to perfection in the back. You're like, is that cabbage ready yet?
Yeah.
We got a guy.
Yeah.
No.
The Joel dude's
So,
come
yeah.
back. Okay.
I think that the jams
night
are
nights and
very
jams.
important for
Okay.
beginners. That's where I started. That's where I learned how to play with other people. And if you're not a musician, but you're feeling like, I want to follow my passion, just give it the space. Give it the time. If people say, I don't have time, it's learn to say, I am not making time for it. Because you have time for it. And
Learn
if
to
you're
say,
honest
"I'll
with
make it."
yourself about that, that's the beginning of finding the pinhole that you can get through to the other side.
That's beautiful. Find the time. Make the time.
Make the time.
Make the time.
And it's hard because everybody's busy. And if you have free time, what do you do with it? You schedule it. So that's the trick.
Wise words.
Trying to leave a
from
little
an
space.
Up and coming, rocketing music man.
Well, thank you, Thea.
Thank you so much.
It was great meeting you.
Super nice to meet you. And such great presents. Love the background we've got going here. You made it
yes.
shine.
Lovely.
Okay. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.